Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, live show number 476. Greetings towards the end of September-ish. We should be well over the hump of our budgeting stuff in the sense of the numbers we're using, and now into the dialogue and discord that comes along with validating and getting verified that the budget is finalized. That's the fun process. It's the politics of it all. But anyway, that is not actually the topic of our discussion today. I had promised that we were going to get into the stress testing of budgets and so forth, but other things have come up given the time of year that it is and given the volatility of how things have been changing demand cycles for lots of regions of the United States through natural disaster and so forth, the fires out west, the storm situations that occur on the Gulf Coast and so forth, the climate change heat that the Northeast is experiencing. And so same too does the demand flows shift and move based upon those influences as well. So the topic for today really came from that. First off, let me say thank you to everyone that is joining us live around the world, 209 countries with the TV channel, the Hospitality Channel, which is on everybody's smart TVs, Roku's, Google's, Amazon's, Apple's, so forth and so on. You've heard me say that many times before. And also simulcasted on multiple Facebook pages, YouTube channels, not on X. It's turned into a cesspool and it's not worth being there. We've moved everybody that was our audience from there over to our other channels, actually. What else? Oh, LinkedIn. Actually, a lot of people went to LinkedIn for watching it off my profile. So thank you so very much for doing that. So today's topic is one that really comes true to the people that I've been talking with and people that come up in dialogues, and you see them in conversations all about, and for our hospitality marketing club as well. And that is booking business during low demand. So that is our title of our topic this week, is how to book business during low demand, the secrets of the universe, how to garner business when there's less business to garner. First off, let me make this one predication, which always seems to baffle me with when these things come up in conversations, whether it's client base, which actually our clients are much more progressive than this, but in general, other calls and queries that we get from people that out of the blue need help. If you're already stuck in the mud, it's a little late to be wondering what you would do if you got stuck in the mud. So the fact that you had not made plans for times that you know were low demand and made contingency plans, similar to what we said with the stress testing of the budget, where numbers don't work out the way that you expect them to work out. What is your contingencies? What are your other alternatives to if this, then what? Conditional programmings. This is one of those times. And this in particular will approach it from the broader perspective and get into more granular perspectives. The broader perspective is you have ups and down seasons. You have good seasons, you have off seasons. The off seasons are the predictable low demand times. That, simply put, is less people are showing up in your destination for what you have to offer. Plain and simple. Here in Florida, it's off demand for the area that we're in. And that is for a number of reasons. One is it is historically persistently hot compared to the inclement weather that others are experiencing now that not normally are hot or as hot. We're persistently hot through the summer. It's hot to be here. And if you're not into the mood for being in a place that's that hot for your entire vacation or transient stay, you choose other more temperate climates. So it's an off-season reason for that. The other is that we are in a season of storms. This is the time of year we're at our peak hurricane season for Florida. And so that has a natural deterrent to people's interest in the Florida market because of the possibility of involving making changes to their plans. And if you're really dedicating yourself to some sort of duration of travel or value of travel, then that is something that you try to avoid. That being said, and we'll get into this as to finding demand in places, that also creates a whole new spectrum of potential audiences that you can engage with that are value seeking, off-season seeking, and based on the criteria of their travel requests, uniquely seeking. How's that for all three? Anyways, so off-season is an easy, large one that should be planned for in your budget process. This is when we're doing really great business. This is when we're doing average business. This is when we're doing not as much business. Optimizing that and having a plan of what you're doing needs to go past, and I want to say this with great clarity, needs to go past we'll just spend less because there's less people wanting to see our ads, but we're still offering and talking the same. That is the demise of unsuccessful low demand marketing. You don't change the message. You don't tailor what you're doing to the audiences that are listening or willing to listen. You simply tone deafly keep saying the same garbage over and over. Rates and dates and availability, rates and dates and availability. Here we are, come see us. Generic branding, or in some aspects, non-branding generic. And when I say generic, I mean best of, close to, downtown of, nearby. That's generic non-branding. The uniqueness of non-branding are things that are unique to your property. Proximities to, in the sense of value propositions, amenities, values. Again, we'll get into more granulars to this. So that's one broad way of low demand that you should already have a plan for. Not just button up the hatches, lower costs, and will weather the low demand storm. Somebody comes, used to work for one. That was their idea. Marketing was a necessary evil. Just when it was low business, you shut the places up. Seasonal shutdowns. We used to have them more than we have them now, where it just wasn't worth keeping open. Now, we're not in that case down here, but there are a lot of restaurants and local venues and so forth that this is the time where they just can't sustain the cost of overhead for operating in sort of reasonable hours. I was just up in the Tampa St. Petersburg, one of my favorite smokehouses. During this time of year, they're only open 2 days of the week. It's neat because, they get fresh fish each day. Whether the fisherman is just out of season for some of the fish, that's one thing. It's another thing about demand. They might have overproduced smoked fish and smoked fish dip and everything else, and there's not enough people to sell it to. So they've reduced their hours accordingly. That's reasonable business decisions. Not talking about that today. We are talking about the fact that you are open for business, and you do need to find business that sustains your business during this low demand period. Given that you have a definable low season, even if you did not do business the year before, but are very full aware of the fact that the area that you're in is not a high demand time for your off season, you need to have plans for this that are marketing based, and they don't go to just we spend less. On the contrary, there are some reasons to actually validate increased spends, but targeted ones. Let me explain. The one thing that a lot of people in their marketing strategies do is they don't listen to their audiences. Listening meaning identifying what it is that they're looking for. What is it that they're trying to search for? It also goes to, and this is from the benefit of one of my team members, Aaron Bennett, who changed my mind on how marketing is to be nexused. And that is, what are the actions of people that you would want to talk more to? Like for people that went to your booking engine, but they didn't book for dates that are in the range of your low demand time. How can we cultivate that audience? So we look for the actions that we want to encourage. People that went to our websites for activities for this time of year. People that went to our websites in general this time of year. People that were looking for dates this time of year. These are all audience actions that you want to identify and amplify. Wow, a lot of synonyms today. For that reason, being that you would then try to create a dialogue with them. And this dialogue is not based on the tried and true repetitive frequency, browbeat them into submission of purchase, which a lot of companies do out of laziness, where they make one ad group and somebody touches their website and they retarget the crap out of them in the hopes that it will convince them to purchase with them. Frequency, resistance is futile, okay? Insistence overcomes resistance. It's stupid little, sayings like that, where you think that by constantly being in front of them, they're going to somehow change their mind for the hundreds of times they've seen your ad before. This time it's going to be different and they're going to click on it and convert. Doesn't work. You need a progressive dialogue with these audiences that you're cultivating and identifying. And the content that you're generating for them, the progression of conversation, has to be tailored to what they engaged with. You just don't slap somebody a rate and date offer just because they touched your website. What part of your website did they touch? What that audience gets created out of a particularity. If it was events, maybe some more content about those events. If it was dates, more value propositions to those dates. If it was types of things that they were looking for, durations on pages, those are all qualifiers. Then those can be done where you make an introduction of content. Not just to try to hard sell them, unless the dates were in a short window and you have a less of an opportunity to convert them, like it was for this weekend. You can't cultivate a multi-tier conversation with them. You might have to be very quick when putting out to the front. Hey, if you're interested in this weekend, here's our best deal for this weekend. Or here's what's going on this weekend. That requires an instantaneous push to the convert value. If it has a longer time frame to it, they were looking at dates next month, which is a slow month, and they're looking at certain dates, then cultivate it as to what other things they should know about those dates. What are the value propositions you might be offering for those dates? Cultivate that in a stepped process. The first message is broad about what they were looking for, but tailored to what it is that they engaged with. The next message afterwards, should they not engage with the first one, remember the workflow discussions we've had many, many times, is to then offer a variation to what you first showed them, maybe a more particular aspect, or maybe a different value proposition, maybe an escalated value proposition, if that's the way you want to go, whatever that next step is. And then maybe a step after that. And then after which, if there was still no conversion, the recognition to leave them alone. Don't irritate them, but keep track of the fact that they were interested this time of year, so that next year, maybe you can get a head start on it and see if they're interested in having to experience where your destination that they may not have done with you, that they might want to change their mind and stay with you because of whatever examples or circumstances they may have had with where they ended up staying in your market. So the seeds you sow today are the fruits that you gather for next year. So there's that. Again, not having a plan for low demand, knowing that the low demand is coming, is like getting stuck in the mud and then wondering what you would do if you get stuck in the mud. The other ways to approach booking business for low demand periods is to amplify a little bit of what I just said about who already is coming, who's already looking. You have some resources to this. You have, I like to say, 3 resources to this. You have your folio information of those that stayed with you last year. That should be an onward cultivation of CRM to engage with them about a returnability. Lifetime value relationships, again, we've discussed that at great length, of reseeding their request to come back, incentivizing them and the value that they represent to us for already having experienced our property, the desire for us to have them back again, and our willingness to give them something for that lifetime value proposition. The second is to see who is coming into your market that you may not have gotten before, people that are interested in your destination. This goes a little bit, not to jump forward, but a little bit into a discussion that I like to call to, through, and in. There's 3 classifications of travelers to your market. People that come to your market, people that travel through your market, and people that travel within your market. And each of them have a different interest as to what they're doing and why they're doing it. There might be common drivers, like an event or a festival or something that is valuable to the destination that happens at this time of year or that date range or whatever. But for the most part, there's 3 different marketing communications that are going on. People that are coming to your destination want to amplify their understanding of your market. They want to know that because they already have an interest coming to your market, what is it about your market that they need to know more about to amplify that interest into a conversion with you? That gives more context to what values you're offering as a product, in addition to how your product is offering value to the destination that's creating this interest. The next is the through category. These people are not so much engaged with what's going on in your market, but what not to miss in your market should they pass through. They're going from point A to point C, and you're the potential point B. If it's just a room night rate for it, then so be it. That's the marketing strategy. Best rate, best availability, minimal restrictions. Come stay with me. If it's more of a, let's spend a couple of days. So since we're traveling to point C anyway, and we probably won't come by point B again unless we find a good reason to, what else is going on in the market? That would be an expansion of, while you're here, 36 hours in, those conversations I had where, now it's an interest category. Do they love food? Is that a driver? Is it cultural? Is it historical? Is it off the beaten path? Is it local things? Is it can't miss things? Those things are all drivers that you can, based on their engagement with you, define the audience so that you can give them more content to help them make the decision to stay with you when they're traveling through your destination. And the last is those within your market that are traveling, the staycations, the daycations, the pleasures, and so forth. Pleasure kind of falls into the through market as well, and the to market. But the idea of what it is to take advantage of, that you are in better position for them to enjoy than where they are living. Like, come on into downtown and enjoy the XYZ farm market, food festival, whatever. That way you don't have to worry about getting your way out of the market or out of the city to make it home. You get to enjoy the whole day, or come to the beach because you live inland and come enjoy the beach when it's nice and quiet and it's not packed full of tourists, perhaps. The counter conversation we're about to have a little bit later on. The idea that each of these are their own campaign, not slopped together with the same ads on the same campaigns, offering the same stale best rate, come stay, look at us, here we are, buy it, buy it, buy it. But each has a tailored flow of conversation. First engagement conversation, second engagement conversation based on the conversion of the first, third engagement conversation based on the second. That progressive marketing of the categories of who's coming to your market, who's traveling through your market, who's traveling within your market, all have their own separate context and messages. Obviously, somebody traveling within your market does not have to be educated from zero as to what it is that you are as a value proposition. They are already aware of your presence in the proximity, whatever they're interested in, or for the reasons of why they're interested in you to begin with. You're on the beach or not, or you're in the mountainside or not, or whatever. They already have that. What they need to know is that there's a value proposition to it and other things that they may not have been aware of that you would add to the context of why you instead of some other place. Those types of focuses on the sources of the business already should be predetermined by you. This isn't a discovery in the middle of it. It's an awareness of it before it happens. You know what you can amplify, and don't go on historical when you do this as being the sole source of value. Like, well, we have nothing that goes on in September. We could shoot a cannon down the hallway of our hotel and we're not going to hit anybody. True, because based on historical performances, that's all you've gotten. But that doesn't mean that there are things that you can look at and say, well, we're here every day. What's going on every day? In a very innocent, naive way. Don't look at it like I'm, oh, well, there's this, that, but I wouldn't come here for that. Don't sell yourself. Sell others. They may think what you think is commonplace or familiar, which is easily dismissive to people that are locally aware of it. They don't see the forest for the trees. Okay. To something that may be uniquely qualified. I'll give you an example that I've given a dozen times, if not 100 times before. And that is, I had someone attend a presentation I was doing in Vancouver. I was in Vancouver, Canada. And I was talking about e-commerce, the value of e-commerce. This goes back many years. And he comes up and he's like, "Oh, that's all great, Lauren." He says, "But I have these hotels up in Yellowknife. Half the year, the Oilers are up here and so forth. And I don't have enough hotel rooms. I could pitch a tent in the back of the building and somebody would rent it from me," kind of mentality. And then the other 6 months, he says, "There's absolutely nobody up here. The road goes away, blah, 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 so forth after the freeze or the back and forth, whatever. And for 6 months of the year, I can't get anybody to come up here." I said, "Wow, okay, well, hey, listen, your market, and that's fine. As long as the 6 months sustains the whole year, great. Oh, whatever. Sorry for your bad 6 months." And as he's leaving me, shaking hands, he says, "Hey, if you ever want to come up and shoot a 16-point buck or pick up a 25-pound bass, let me know." And I stopped him and says, "Hey, can I do either of those things for any of the 6 months that you're not busy?" He says, "Well, yeah, about 3 or 4 of it. The weather's still good enough and transportation is easy enough in that sense that you can." I said, "I'll be darned." Turns out there's a very large market of Japanese business people that love to go over and take a plane, take a island hopper, or not island hopper, but a little Paducah propeller plane, then take a truck and so forth to make it to these places to have that isolated opportunity. So now he's only 2 months out of the year that he doesn't have any business because it's too miserable to try to get up there. The idea is there is somebody that might be interested in something that you think is commonplace. There are always those. You see it on social media all the time. It's like, wow, there's a group of people that macrame underwater. Huh, who would have thunk? Everybody has interests that you don't necessarily attest to yourself, but they do for them. So don't sell to yourself only. Sell to the idea of, well, who would be interested in this? I think it's commonplace. I don't think it's worth the attention, but maybe somebody does. Finding out whether if you put content up or look for the content and see whether you can attach yourself to it. Is it worthy for you to try to push it down that long tail, that metaphorical, narrow audience building that you do for this particular topic, and see if there's value there? You're literally no stone unturned in that world. You are creating the opportunities by even asking the question. So getting to the more than just esoteric aspect of it, but the idea that you should target things that you're doing. There are audiences that I feel get blatantly ignored, that should not be ignored. And I think there are huge opportunities that should you see them as being desirable, can truly be loyal, both in the context of your quality of service and in the idea of your ability to focus on them. So think of it this way. Um, you bemoan the fact that you have empty rooms. Now, from a revenue management and operational point of view, for the few rooms that you are booking, you usually try to cluster them in the same area so that your housekeeping staff isn't all over the building, all over the property, cleaning random rooms all over the place. You try to cluster them so that you can keep the operational costs down, speed and efficiency, so forth and so on. That's great. That means that there are wings or halls or floors or sections of your hotel that are basically quiet, that are being maintained with air conditioning and everything else, but not really having to be other than dusted. Put into maintenance and maintenance cycles, deep cleaning cycles, and so forth. But they're pretty much vacant. It's your complaint, right? I'm not busy. I got all these empty rooms. I need people to stay in them, right? So great. What about the special needs travelers? The one beauty of the internet and social media is the fact that we can become so aware of so many conditions that exist in the world that we never knew existed. I mean, we're aware of visually impaired people, audibly impaired people, mobility impaired people, diabetes and so forth, having to bring insulin with you and so forth and so on. There is so many things in this world that we become more aware of through the benefit of the social media channels and general media coverage and communication capabilities of the internet. It doesn't mean that we've become more empathetic to them in most cases. When we operate business, we operate it on basis of profitability and success, and of course, return on what we spend versus what we get and what have you. But there's also a very high value to addressing the fact that a lot of these segments, these niches, for lack of a better word, travel and have the desire to travel, probably more so in other ways than other people, but have the limited means or limited capability because of the limited options. Think of autism, traveling on the spectrum. A dear friend of mine, Stuart Butler, who's with the Myrtle Beach CVB or Chamber, they did a wonderful movie that's coming out that was wonderfully produced called Traveling the Spectrum. Very eye-opening as to how we as an industry can help people traveling. Autism is this very prevalent part of our world now. Maybe it was undiagnosed before, what have you, but it's now aware. And for that reason, there are a lot of families that would love a quiet place, a place that could be kept quiet, a place that knows that they're coming with these special needs to their property, that are properly trained. There are certifications that you can get to properly handle audiences and guests to your property in a way that your team knows how to respond, interact, not interact, whatever the conditions may arise, but they're fully aware of their role in that relationship. And if you have a quiet wing because of lack of demand, why aren't you offering that? I'm not saying giving it away. You're renting it out as you would any room. But now you can control that there's no hall music. Turn that off. The lights are dimmer or change the bulbs or what have you. That there's other things and there's a whole things that, and they're not hard things. They're just things that can help with the process, the check-in process, the areas that are isolated for them. If you have two pools and you're only using one, the other pool can be this. Or you have special hours for them. The restaurant has a special section for them or special time for them. Breakfast has a special time for them or a different place that they can be offered breakfast. These are things that they will love because that means that they can get to travel where other times they can't. And why not? They will tolerate warmer weather if it gives them the chance to get to the beach where it's not crowded and creates problems because of whatever conditions they have to deal with in their daily lives. They can be in a room and in a place that's acknowledging their special needs and requirements for the travel, that they feel safer, that is being supported. There's all of that. Think of other things. Visually impaired is another one. Knowing people and having friends that are dealing with, I don't even know what I would do. But living in a world not being able to see, imagine our computer world or technology world. We have technology that sometimes is amazing that it can function. One of those things, several of those things, is larger organizations are producing these maps. When we were over by the Olympics in Paris We were broadcasting from Paris this past summer. They were touting a really neat program called Good Map. You can look it up. uh, that had this ability for the phone to help guide its visually impaired user to know comfortably that they were walking safely or towards something or near. Because what it had done with the way technology works with LiDAR and so forth on phones and cameras and so forth is that it three-dimensionally mapped out the area and then hyper targeted the location of the person to know where they are with the GPSs in the phone and stuff, all this cool technology we love taking credit for. And so they could tell that they were walking towards something or walking the correct path. Microsoft has a platform too. It's called Seeing It, where it creates like little markers that make audible sounds as you go towards it or you're looking for it. It's like a little location finder, and it gives you the path that you've pre-designated to get to the bathroom or to get to the lobby or whatever. All of this being said, it takes somebody with a recently owned iPhone to walk around your lobby and go tick, tick, tick with a platform like that and take a 3D map picture of your lobby and your ADA rooms and your pool areas and your restaurants, whatever it is. And it'll outline all where the walls are and so forth and the spatial size of it. And then load that up as a value to somebody that is visually impaired. They say, hey, look, it's on the platform. So, and if they're using the platform, great, because they know it's there. Now, if they're looking for a hotel and they're coming to your market and you're the hotel that has that, they're going to stay with you because that means they get out of their vehicle and they can enter into your lobby and know where they are, where the front desk is, where the doorway to the hallway and the elevator and everything is, not because they're seeing it, because they're able to be aware of it from the app directing them and showing them. That kind of stuff is magic. And I mean that in the nicest way. That stuff makes life better for everyone. Having that, the cost is minimal to none at all in some ways. Having that capability and not offering it but to offer it as a value that your property has that. To me, it's frustrating when I hear hotels that they get in a slow period and they act like they're surprised. Oh my gosh, business just dried up. It's the weather, it's the moon, it's the stars, it's the trees. Everything is something reason other than their preparation. Oh, we knew it was coming. We did so, but it was not enough. Then it wasn't good preparation. You need to prep beyond what you think so that if it's, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, that mentality that nobody seems to really well, is always have alternatives. Doesn't mean you have to scope out every if-then condition. It just means that you have to have a direction to go, knowing that if this happens, then we probably want to go this way and see if that, we believe that would help with this, but then there might be a limitation. If it's that, we have to make a new plan. The idea is that you think about it before you need it. The benefits of being able to look at these targeted markets, these unique markets. We talked about previous business. We talked about current business. We talked about business coming to and through and in. We've talked about all of the generalized marketing, the workflow conversations of targeted audiences that have already acted on their interest in the market and so forth. I'm now talking about audiences that you can go out during high demand or low demand. But it's easier during low demand because some of these conditions make it easier, like the traveling on the spectrum category, where you can isolate a section of the hotel. You can create the ambiances necessary for a successful travel experience for those people that need those things. For the visually impaired, it's not just because of low demand, but it makes it a little bit easier that the lobby's not crowded with 100 people. Or the restaurant, has a bunch of people in it, that there's a uniqueness of being able to notice and address and engage with the visually impaired guest, that your team looks for the ways, because not everybody's walking with a white cane. Not everybody is fully visually impaired. Not everybody cannot not see some things or uses different tools for some things. But the fact that you're making those efforts, think of it from the business perspective for a moment, which most people do first anyway. The value proposition of the PR of what you can do with doing these things for these audiences is profound for your local market. It makes your destination market more interesting for those people that have these needs, and you're the vanguard of that. The second is you actually get the benefit from these kind of offerings for the people that need them, because you're actually providing the service for them. Don't just do minimal ADA compliance. Do compliance that actually shows a willingness and a desire to bring them in. These types of things go a long way beyond just the benefit of the revenue you generate. but it's the goodwill that you show and the growth opportunity of others seeing the value of you doing it. They will do it as well. It's the one best blessing you can give to anybody, that you can share the business, because it drives good guest relations and good guest experience. These are the things that actually happen that can go well with your low demand periods. Another one that's a bit of a grind for me, as if I'm not already axing and grinding on soapboxes, pet travel. I will say this, that people love to say they're pet friendly. They're not pet friendly. They're pet tolerant or pet intolerant. True pet friendly is travel with your pet. We welcome you coming in. We are concerned about you damaging our property or the extra cleaning that we might have to do because you don't control your pet as well as we like to. There are guidelines for controlling what your pet, what your people with traveling with pets, as to, the defecations, the cleanups, the damages, and so forth. And you have those very well spelled out. But charging $75, $100 per night, or $50 per night, or $100 per stay for 3 days or whatever, is pet tolerant at best, pet intolerant at most. Oh yeah, we'll take pets, but you're gonna have to pay almost as much, if not more, for the pet that gets taxed and feed and everything else, along with the room rate, all that gratis money for nothing extra. Oh yes, it requires more deep cleaning of the room. No. Firsthand, most of the times it's not. Unless actually something happens to the room's treated the same. And you say, yes, no, we have different protocols. You probably do. You might. But the reality of it is that you're still stripping the beds. You're still stripping the towels. You're still cleaning out the room. You're dusting. Maybe you dust more. Maybe you vacuum more. But for the most part, the actual cost, it's a revenue gen. It's a value proposition. It's a way of making you feel good about asking for more money. If you really want good travel, there is millions of people. And I can tell you firsthand from traveling in domestic US to international. International, we can go into any restaurant with our dog that travels with us. Well behaved and what have you. It's you go into stores, retail things. There's not a thing. There are hotels that don't want pets. Usually the brand ones that are trying to restrict their brand policies and so forth. But if you really want to get an audience that is going to appreciate you letting them, wave your pet stuff. Actually embrace them. Give them a plastic bowl with your logo on it, because guess what? That logo will sit on the floor in some place at their home forever until the bowl falls apart. I can tell you that because the Broadmoor plastic bowl I have for my dog is still on our little patio for him, and that was years ago that I got it. Give them a little bandana. The neat part is you can use them for color coding what day they arrived. Give them snacks. Give them a puppy menu for fun. Obviously, indoor restaurants, there are health code restrictions as to what's allowed and not allowed. Totally understand. As to common areas, as do on a leash, not a leash, pet behavior. All these are conditions that the pet owner is willing to embrace, knowing not everybody's comfortable around pets. Nobody wants to see a pet taking a piss on a wall inside a building. Don't let them take a crap and don't pick it up. Pick it up. But from the hotel side, have a walking zone that has bags that you actually leave the bags in, and you clean the trash out, and you clean the grass for the idiot travelers that don't do it, and have a camera and actually call them out on it, saying, hey, you went and your dog took a dump and you didn't clean it up. Sorry, either you clean it up, or we're going to charge you a fee for having to clean it up, or you're not invited back. Whatever. Pet owners know that they're putting an extra request to the property. But here's the value proposition of going out for pets. If you do that, the people that don't get the privilege of traveling with their pet all the time, or don't usually have the options to be able to travel with their pet, now feel like that's where they want to go, is your place. Even if the rate's better at another place, the fact that they can come with their pet is awesome. Okay? Not everybody travels with their pet, but most people do, especially the smaller pets. Larger pets are a little more of a challenge to travel with. Absolutely. But again, you have size restrictions to what you're allowed onto the property and so forth. It is a absolute niche of travel. And with them, their willingness to accept that they have a pet, because they're not having to pay for it, they're going to be willing to tell you they have a pet rather than trying to sneak it in on you, is give them additional information that they're going to have to research anyway. If they're coming to your area, what restaurants accept pets and how they seat you, priceless information. What stores allow you in with your pet? leashed or in a cart or whatever, or in a backpack, whatever, invaluable. Beaches that you can walk on them, trails you can walk with them on, whatever, giving them that information and making it available early on in their travel decisions literally will convince them to convert with you, regardless of the price per se. I mean, obviously, if you're charging massive amounts, or if you're trying to travel these intolerant pet fees, you're not different than anybody else that's saying they're pet friendly when they're not, because it just now is a scope of, well, that one has a $50 pet fee and this one has a $100 pet fee. What's the math on the number of days? Okay, that's cheaper. Wipe it out. Take it off the board as a decision process. You're offering pet travel. Boom. They'll some stay with you. The other is that, and I say this from a lot of revenue managers, they're very tone deaf as to the rate offerings that they create during these low demand periods. They feel that they want to dig their heels in and stand their ground. If we offer too low, then we set a precedent for everybody else. Oh, I was staying with you and it was $89 a night, and now you're wanting $400. That's bullshit. It's the same room. And so revenue managers prefer to keep it at a $350 rate during low seasons so they can justify the $400 rate during regular season. Meanwhile, the OTAs are just eating your lunch. They're taking your rates and discounting their margin off of it just to sell it, to get them signed up with their rewards programs, to make them the lifetime travel value, not you. You lose direct communication. You lose lifetime value. You pay somebody else a commission for that business. All of that. So why? Why not during your low demand periods? Don't drop to the basement, but make your rate the rate that they can only get with you. Make it so that the best available opportunity is you. Because a lot of rate managers, revenue managers, well, we're in parity because our advanced purchase rate is the same rate that Expedia has. But they didn't look at what Expedia is offering. That the rate that Expedia is matching your lowest rate, Expedia is letting them cancel 2 days, 1 day before. And they're incentivizing them, saying to get that opportunity, to get this low rate that you can only get at the direct website if you advance purchase, and nobody really truly likes advance purchase as much as we like it, okay, is you have to sign up with a rewards program. Boom. Now they have all the data that they need to continue the engagement with them, so they can continue to sell your guest more of what they're offering against you, against anybody else that might be a part of your portfolio. You've lost the relationship with the guest by thinking that you're keeping a rate parity that really isn't truly there. So these are some of the things, very particular things that you can and should do in preparation to your low demands, and might refer to that if you got hit with an unscheduled low demand. We talked about the predication of knowing when your low demand periods exist. Got it. There are times that it just creeps up on you, sneaks up on you, or surprises you. Bad weather changes. All of a sudden, you're in the cone of probability for a hurricane, or a wildfire is creeping, or at least close enough in proximity that the traveler just doesn't want to run the risk, so to speak. Or unseasonably hot weather is making it uncomfortable for most of the stuff up there because maybe your facilities aren't suited for hot weather. Okay. And these things kind of happen. And now obviously you're dealing with cancellations or just a fall off the cliff conversion or a drop in traffic. Okay. Well, you need to know who you can go talk to. The CRM databases that you have to solicit people to re-engage them, to maybe take advantage of the fact that you're willing to offer them a value because, hey, it's warm up here, unseasonably warm, and we'd love to have you back, and we're willing to give you this value for it. This is when you go after your gift card people. And please tell me you do gift cards, because they're a contained audience. They've already spent money with you that they may not have used yet. And here you're telling them that this is gift card weekend and every gift card will get an extra 15, 20, 25% value if you use it. Wow, that's free money, especially if they bought it or was given to them and they got an extra discount on purchases because, buy a $100 gift card for $100 or $150 gift card for $100. And now you're telling me 25% more value. Holy, that makes it where people will be willing to convert. You could do this on inventory that you may be having a hard time selling. They're not your preferred properties. Think about condo hotels and so forth. There's some properties that are high in demand, the ones that have the beautiful views and or the most updated facilities or whatever have you. And then you have the run to the litter kind of mentality where it's usually the hard to sell, easily canceled, not the prime property that or the prime unit that everybody envisions when they come to you, or whatever have you. Offer those at a value to gift card users. Or if you do have a membership relationship program, incentivize the value by telling them, because you are who you are. Previous guests, you are who you are. You get a value before anybody else gets to see this value. Make it unique and special for them to do this. Revenue managers cringe at these ideas because that means that they're offering lower rates. You're offering opaque lower rates. Your gift card offer is opaque to outside world non-card members. Your membership offers are opaque to outside non-members. Your previous guest is a limited CRM list to non-public members. It's not that they can't share it and what have you. Matter of fact, in some strange ways, you hope that they do. Sometimes you can do your code leaks conversations with people where you're offering them an incentive code should they want to use it, and it's usable. They share it with their friends. You want them to share it with your friends. Hey, I just got given this code that, because I stayed there before, they give me 25% off for these dates. I can't use it, but maybe my friends can. Let me share this because I want to share stuff that makes me look cool. The definition of virility, of being viral. These are things that you need to have in your toolkit that you would turn to in that conditional statement of stress testing your demand of your budget, stress testing your marketing plan. These are things that you leave there. Some of them are integrated into a strategy program that you're going to implement and use, like the gift cards, like the membership programs, if you have either of those, for the seasonal changes that are going to be coming. And some of them you pull a rabbit out of the hat because of a fire that is close enough to diminish demand to your market, or a weather change and weather pattern change that makes it unseasonably different for you, or a potential short risk of storms that create a lower demand cycle because of the possibility of a storm like September is in Florida. Then you go off of the niche market ones, the ones that look for the off times. I'm one of those travelers. I like traveling when it's not busy. The whole mob tourism thing is a problem, and being able to go to some places that are off season, sure, they may not be at their the prime, like the fountains are flowing and the flowers are blooming and everything else, but I get to see it. Some people are like, no, that's not worth it. It's all up to the individual traveler. But going back to an old statement I made earlier, don't just sell to yourself. If it's not you, that's fine, but that doesn't mean that somebody else wouldn't. Keep those in mind, that there are great off-season travelers. There's a large surge of people that once school goes back in session towards the end of August, of all the people that want to travel because the kids aren't traveling anymore. They don't have to deal with the kids around the pool. They don't have to deal with the kids in the restaurants. They don't have to deal with the kids at the parks, wherever it is that they wanted to do. They get to enjoy things without so much of the family density. It's awesome. There are people that look forward to off the beaten path where they can have all the amenities at their disposal without the constraints of having too many people competing with them on spa dates and golf time, tea times, and court times and everything else. These are the things you need to see in your portfolio of amenities, in your destination's value, what you can look at and see first, who's already trying to engage with it, and identify them and work with them and communicate with them and workflow, and don't hit the high frequency stuff depending upon their demand, interest, and time, lead time. The people that you want to think are coming to or through or within your market. The types of audiences that you are aware of, the historical people that have come to your destination this same time, or they're looking and so forth, and the data that you have about those. Your memberships and your gift cards, your CRM engagements and so forth. Okay. And then also the niche markets, the special needs travelers, the pet travelers, people that are out there that are happy the fact that you are willing to accommodate the things that they have a need, that they're not the generic traveler that just comes in with a suitcase, and the professional traveler, the worldly traveler that knows what they want, exactly what they want, accept what to offer, and that you've accommodated all of it and have no deviations from it. That they appreciate the fact that there are deviations. I do have a pet, or I do have a special needs request for my travel to be able to be less stressful for me, and so forth. These are things you need to put into your portfolio of engagements to that. I feel good that we've hit the points that I wanted to hit with it. Thank you, everyone. I haven't even been glancing over my screen as to who's where and what. As always, I love the live feed forward and comments and so forth. And if you want to send me any feedback, suggestions, disagreements, opinions, so forth and so on. There's a couple of ways. You can do it audibly. You can just go to htm.news/talkback, and there's an audible recorder. You can send me that live feedback for that. Plus, I leave questions up there that you may want to answer or have some comments on. If you're a hospitality marketing professional, you can try to join our hospitality marketing club. Go to hospitalitymarketing.club. There's a single place to put your email in. I send you a quiz to validate that you are indeed a current hospitality marketing professional. And then you join our peer group, which is a lot of fun, talking back and forth about stuff. And then my email, lauren@hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com. You send me an email of, like I said, feedbacks, questions, insights, and your willingness to maybe want to participate on the show if you'd like. Different times, we are going to get more of our guest speakers back as time goes forward. Now we're through the budget season. We also have our radio station. Hospitalityradio.com is the website for it. We're in 39 countries, 36 platforms. Yes. And our podcast, which we do as well, audio podcast, a little shorter, more tool driven, more specific granularities and stuff like that, usually in sync with our live show today. So we will be talking about some tools like Good Maps and so forth today, as to what all these things can be used for and how they might be helpful in business generation. Of course, all of our simulcasting on the TV channel, Hospitality Channel. It's also an iOS and Apple and Google Play app. Just look for Hospitality Channel. That's our TV station. It's also our app. Our TV station you can find on Roku, Google, Amazon, Apple, all the smart TVs. Just look for Hospitality Channel. It's an industry TV channel that we run. The live show is always on the free side. There's paid content on the other side to be able to see more stuff, more industry stuff. And then, of course, for our radio station, hospitalityradio.com. Oh, our I Love Lucy rerun website, hospitalitychannel.tv. All previous the shows, we're in our 11th year now of doing this every week, regardless in the world where we are. Have never missed a week. And so the shows, all the shows are there, either by data broadcast, a guest speaker or speaker on it, and or by topic. And then also our podcasts are also all over there as well, historically for all of that. So you can watch any of those or listen to any of those. I think we hit all the points about that. I do sincerely appreciate the time for those watching us live. We will simulcast this again, recast this, 11:30 a.m. Sydney, Australian time for our APAC friends, and 11:30 a.m. Wednesday morning London time for our EU and Mideast friends. So with that, my name is Lauren Gray. I thank you for the privilege of your time and look forward to talking to you all next week.